we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey, good Sunday evening, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. Welcome to the lifeboat. Lord Kissfreak asked me to send his love. Oh, that's very cool. I guess he's out in the field working again, but good to see you all here. My bobbleheaded partner is back, and we are happy to have you all here on this lovely Sunday evening. People, I'll tell you what, I didn't sleep last night. One of those, I told you it's been months now, but at least I think it's been a couple of months. I was having those nightmares that were just, vivid as heck, and they're bizarre. They're like false ending movies. Those movies you think are over and they're not. Like in the dream, I know it's a dream and I can't wake up from it. I'm doing everything I can to wake up for it. I'm trying to scream. I'm trying to do whatever to try to get out of this nightmare. And then I'll wake up, but I'm not really awake yet. I just dream that I'm awake. And this happened like 3 or 4 times until finally, that the last fake ending, my sister had shown up and was had sort of run in the room because I was screaming and was talking to me after the nightmare and had me in the living room. And I realized that the heck is my sister doing here? And, figured out I was still in the dream, but it was terrible, and never got back to sleep. So it was one of those, if I fall asleep like this and end up, not making it through this, then I'm sure that my bobbleheaded partner will jump in. And people, I don't know if you've noticed, but I got rid of the gray chair since it wasn't really matching. This one also does not squeak, but I got a padded chair that kind of matches the decor a little better. And since these days I do spend a decent amount of time sitting down, so it's kind of important that I got something that is a little bit padded and a little bit comfortable. Okay, that covers the news of the day. Now let's get into the meat of this thing. People, one of the rules we have here at the lifeboat is, and you all know the rules, but one of the rules that we have here is that we don't discuss politics. And I can't talk about the subject matter tonight without tiptoeing or tap dancing or tightrope walking along the I don't know if politics is the right word, but I think it's the closest word that I can come up with. I can't talk about this without making some references to some of the things that are happening sort of politically in the world that we are in currently, because we have reached a day and age in this country where just about everything has a movement behind it that uses the word pride. And I think, if you pay attention to anything going on in the news, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, you still know exactly what I'm talking about, because I'm sure that it has worked its way into your life one way or the other. It's just how it is. People, I'm not going to take a stand on anything, but I think it's important that for the subject matter that this point of reference kind of gets brought up, because for a couple of reasons. But number one, we have every type of pride in the world, right? We have gay pride, we have straight pride, we have black pride, we don't have white pride, but we have tons of different kinds of pride, and almost all of them seem to be without merit. And I'm not bagging on anybody. You have the right to be proud of whatever you want to be proud of. However, it seems to me that a great deal of these sort of pride movements are based on things that you have done absolutely nothing to earn. If I decide to beat my chest and scream a little bit about straight pride, and take some kudos in my own head for the fact that I find women attractive, but I didn't really do a whole lot to earn that, did I? I was born, as it turns out, I find women attractive. If it was the other end of the spectrum, it would be the exact same thing. If I was born and I found men attractive, I don't understand why we feel the need to be proud about all of these things that we were just born. There's nothing normally in my mind, and I could be dead wrong. Feel free to tell me I am. But in my mind, if you're going to be proud of something, it should probably be something that you earned at some level. Now, I guess, pride of nationality, you didn't have to necessarily earn that, but you're not being proud of yourself. You're being proud of your country, or you're being proud of something else. But to be proud of yourself for being born heterosexual seems kind of odd to me. It's just who you are. And, to say it as if you earned something. And the reason that I feel the need to bring this up, people, is because we live in a society that doesn't like addicts, right? We live in a society that thinks that people who have somehow found themselves addicted to a substance or a chemical were weak in the minds of most of the people on the planet. We are weak, we are defective, we have all kinds of issues, basically. And we talked a lot last night about how one of the beautiful things about the boat is you don't have to explain the trials, the tribulations, or any of the things that have anything to do with sobriety, right? These aren't things that we have to try to make other people understand on the boat, because we've all been there and done that. And I think that that's something that, it's one of the reasons that people are comfortable here, is because we have all been in the same boat. And for that reason, we all have a pretty good handle on what it takes to be sober. And I don't mean chemical free, right? Because I can lock you in a kennel, right? Shut the door, not let you out, bring you food. Trust me, people, this happened to me. And that is going to more or less make sure that you're sober. You're not going to have access to any of the substances that people abuse. Well, that's chemical free. When you get out of that kennel and you have the opportunity to go out and get whatever you want, the process then becomes something different. You go from being chemical free to either white knuckling it, or to actually developing into a sober individual. And just as we don't have to explain to anybody that stumbles onto the deck of the boat what it means to be an addict, or what it means to have that desire to do something that we know is not a good idea, but we can't seem to say no to without some assistance. I also don't need to explain to you the level of pride that all of us have earned by being sober. And, we've talked about this sort of tangentially. We never really sort of dove right into this as a direct subject matter. But sober pride is something that, in my opinion, if you look at all of the pride movements out there, and, as I alluded to a little earlier, most of them are not things that you earn, right? Growing up, you never felt the need to meet someone and say, hey, I like women. Just thought you should know that, right? My name is Tommy and I like women and I'm proud of that, right? I am a proud straight individual. But you see a lot of people today on both sides of the equation who feel the need to tell you that. I've met many people who tell me within the first 30 seconds what their sexual preference is and the fact that they're proud of that. God bless them. Be proud of whatever you want to be proud of. But for the love of God, people, do not be ashamed of the fact that you're sober. And I think that society would be happier if we were. They'd be happier if we just kind of quietly went about our business. And if you've been able to overcome, the drug habit that they thought you were weak for having in the first place, well, they don't really want to hear about it. And we get this from people, not just run-of-the-mill guys walking down the street. We get this from people who love us. And we've touched on this many times on the boat. The illustration we say all the time, is of family members who say, boy, I am so proud of you, for getting sober. But your uncle is coming over. So please, let's not talk about any of that while he's here, right? Don't bring any of that up. And it gives you that feeling that they may be happy that you're sober, but they're certainly not happy enough to be proud of the fact that you're sober, because if they were, they would want people to realize what you have overcome. They would want people to realize that you just ran a marathon that makes 26 miles look like a walk in the park, right? We talk on a regular basis about how when you start going down this road, you reach base camp and you start living your life and overcoming all of the things that are going to happen to you. We use the term fighting the good fight. And there's a darn good reason for that. This is a fight. Make no mistake, people. It's a fight. It's even a fight on the good days, right? Niall last night left a great comment. If you were here last night, you may remember because I read it. But he said, as addicts, we come up with all kinds of reasons. Hey, I had a really bad day. I think I'll get wasted. Or, boy, I had a great day. I think I'll celebrate. Things aren't going the way I had planned them. I think I'll just drown out my sorrow. Things are going absolutely perfect. I think I will do this. I just lost a friend. So a friend just came back in my life. We could justify 800 million reasons to go and use. You know what? Haven't used in a really long time. Maybe I've earned it, right? All of these different things that we do to justify us using. The rest of the world doesn't realize that every single minute of every single day, we have to overcome those stupid feelings that the negative part of our brain, the part of our brain that's not on board this whole sobriety thing. Another thing that we've touched on and talked about a lot, there is a part of our brain that wants us to hurt ourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. It wants us to slip back into the life that it understood, right? We reached a certain level of comfort doing the wrong thing. It was the known, and it may not have been very healthy for us. In fact, it's obviously the least healthy thing you could do. Again, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all of it. But there's a part of our brain that tries to talk us into that 24 hours a day. Now, I'm probably a little biased. I mean, I'm the captain of the lifeboat, so I'm probably a pinch biased. But to me, the ability to overcome that, the ability to get into a daily fight with your own brain, the ability to rise above and realize that you're more than the desires of your brain. You're more than the malfunctioning reward center that has caused you to spend a year, a month, 6 years, 2 decades, 3 decades, screwing up at every single turn. to come to that realization and then to seek out things like the lifeboat or group therapy or one-on-one therapy or anything that you have to do in order to get sober. I think we all realize that the vast majority of people walking this planet think that sobriety is as easy as going, well, this is what I do, and you just need to set that down. There you go, right? You're sober. All you got to do is get rid of that bottle of booze or set down that drug, right? Delete the drug dealer's number from your phone. You use today, don't use tomorrow. You're good. Just stop, right? Or just say no. The most complex problem facing anybody today, and we got 3 syllables, right? Well, it's just so easy to fix. Just say no. 3 syllables. I mean, how easy is that? They have no concept. This is one of the reasons that the boat is a place that people can come and open up and talk about what's really going on in their lives and talk about the struggles without anybody going, what do you mean you felt like using? You're 60 days sober. Why would you want to use now? You've already beat this, right? This is easy from here on out. You should have no problem at all. You already beat it. The majority of the planet doesn't realize, or I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of people that do realize, but the air quote normal people in your life who very often, fortunately and unfortunately are family and friends, they don't really have a handle on what it takes to A, get sober, and far more importantly, B, to remain sober. They also don't understand the difference between the concept of chemical-free and sober. We talk all the time about base camp. People getting chemical-free, that's the start of the race, right? You just got to the very bottom of Everest. You got to that one spot at whatever they do it at, 15, 16,000 feet, where they camp out for a little while so that you can adjust to that altitude before you start on a journey that is going to be life-threatening, right? Well, base camp for us is starting out on a journey that is going to challenge you in ways that it challenges everybody. That's what life is. The difference is our coping skill used to come in a little baggie or a 12-ounce bottle, or a 32-ounce bottle, or whatever, your particular previous substance of choice. I think, and I know that there are people who are in agreement with me, that this is something worthy of pride. And the really funny thing, people, is that, and I say this all the time, so that this is nothing new to me, but the cheesiest thing that you can do as a public speaker is to look up the definition of a word and then sort of base your whole presentation on that. So I thought looking up the definition of the word pride, but if you look up the definition of the word pride, and I'm not going to read it, but if you look it up, it doesn't get put out there as a positive thing. Up until just recently, pride was considered one of the 7 deadly sins. It wasn't considered a good thing. In fact, usually for someone to say pride, it usually meant that you were doing something wrong, right? It was boastful. It was arrogant. There was nothing, good about pride. Pride was a bad thing. And then I don't know exactly when it happened, because these kind of things happen all the time without anybody asking me my approval. You know what I'm talking about? Like when they change how people say a word. I grew up my entire life and people were harassed. And then, I don't know, I was like 24 and it became harassment instead of harassment. No one ever asked me. I didn't give any approval for this, but all of a sudden things sort of just change. And society has a very unusual way of doing that. But I don't know how far back, maybe a decade or so. At least in my memory, it seems like in the last decade. Pride became something that is no longer considered necessarily a bad thing. And in fact, now you need to go out of your way to let the world know that you're proud of all kinds of things that you did absolutely nothing to get. Now, I'm not one to buck, the trends. If this is how we're going, I'm all for it. I really am. But I don't think you can have it, halfway or 3/4 way. I think there ought to be a movement for sober pride. And when I was talking about this with my bobble-headed partner, he said he did a little research and found out that there is a bit of a movement on this whole sober pride thing. Apparently, there's a flag and there's colors and there's a day or two of the year that are dedicated to but I don't know. I think that when I look at the challenge of what it takes to live a sober life, what it takes to fight the good fight and to do it day in, day out, you can't take a day off from sober, right? I mean, seriously, if you're heterosexual, you could spend 5-6 months not concentrating on the fact that's what you are, and then wake up one day and, look around and go, ooh, that woman is attractive. It's not going to change. It's not something that you're going to have to work at, right? It's just who you are. It's so ingrained in you. It's basically part of the fabric of part of the DNA of what makes you tick. Sobriety is not that way. We got to get up every single day, right? And as we're making the bed or putting our shoes on or brushing our teeth or all of the things that we do, it has to be in the forefront of your mind. It's not something that we get a day off from. With that in mind, I don't know that 1 out of 365 days is enough for this whole sober pride thing. I, for one, am going to make a point of taking a bit of time every single day. I'm not kidding, people. This is no joke. This is from the heart. I'm going to take a chunk of time every single day and call it whatever you'd like. Think about it, concentrate about it, meditate on it, daily affirm it. But I'm going to remind myself that going on 7 years without making a mistake and putting that crap in my body again is something that I deserve to be proud of. I have absolutely no reason whatsoever to be ashamed of it, and I certainly have absolutely no reason to hide it. Now, doesn't mean I'm going to introduce myself as, hey, I'm Tommy, I'm sober. I don't feel the need to announce to anybody what I'm proud of. That might be slightly different on the deck of the lifeboat. We get a lot of people that come by and check us out. Some stick around. Most don't. And not because of myself or because of Mark or because of you guys, because you're the coolest crew in the entire world. I mean, someone comes onto the deck of the lifeboat, they get welcomed. I mean, it's unlike any other channel or any other thing I've ever seen. You want to talk about a group of people that makes somebody feel like they're family or makes somebody feel like they're at home almost instantly. Boy, that's the lifeboat, right? The reason that many people don't hang out very long is because if you're getting drunk every day, or if you're getting high every day, let's be really honest, the subject matters around here might make you just a pinch uncomfortable. For real, right? If it doesn't, then you've reached that point in your life where it's probably, you're ready to put down whatever it is that has you afflicted. Because if you were coming here, for a couple of months every day and listening to this, I mentioned it a few shows back. It's not because of, how dazzlingly attractive Mark and I are, or our, sterling sense of humor. It's not because we just put on such a fantastic show. It's because the subject matter is tugging at your heartstrings. And if your heartstrings are getting plucked by the things that we're talking about here on the lifeboat, then you would know exactly where you're at in life. You realize that you got a problem, and you realize that the problem needs to be addressed, correct? Okay. Well, all of that said, I want the people that walk onto the deck of this boat, I want the people who visit this channel to not just see a group of people who really care about one another. I mean, I think it's awesome that they see that, but I want them to realize that every single person here isn't just sober. They're proud to be sober. They realize the accomplishment that it is to get sober. And if you think about it logically, people, what we're trying to do, no matter how you shake it, is a form of marketing, is it not? We're marketing the sober lifestyle. We're marketing fighting the good fight. We're trying to show people that you can live a fantastic life. You can live your best life if you get that crap out of it. If you remove drugs, you remove alcohol, you remove whatever has you in chains, If you can remove that from the equation, you're going to be a happier person. Well, I want that pride to come across. I really do. I think this is super important. I'm going to be beating my chest, and not just about me, people. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm proud as hell of the fact that on June 27th, I will be at 7 years. I'm proud of that. But I am proud of every person on this boat who's fighting the good fight and staying sober every single day. And I'm particularly proud of the people that get it. Hopefully you understand the difference. You could be sober and not get it. You really can. You could be not using chemicals, but not quite getting it yet. You know what I mean? Once you truthfully embrace this lifestyle, it's like Cortez, right? You don't leave a ship in the harbor, because when the weather gets bad, your entire crew is going to say, you know what? I don't really like it here. Let's get on that boat and go back home. No one told me it was going to snow. Like, this sucks. I want to go back home. No, he knew what he was doing. He reached the New World and they burned their ships. They didn't leave an out. What I would like is a crew that is ready to be proud of how far they've come and be proud of being sober, and who would like to throw a match on any escape vehicle that might take you back to the previous lifestyle. Hope that makes sense, right? I hope that is one of those things that go, well, obviously, Captain, right? Why would we ever want to leave an out? I don't know. I really don't. I don't. But let's be really honest, people. No matter how far you come, no matter how long you've been sober, you're one drink away. You're one hit away. You're one phone call away. You're one snort, one shoot, one whatever away. Not from a relapse, from being the person you were before you got clean. I think that sometimes that gets lost in the wash. We talk all of the time about how relapse is a part of recovery. And I don't know if we do a disservice with how often that's said. Again, it's walking that tightrope, because obviously, if somebody stumbles or if somebody relapses, we don't want to go, boy, you're a loser. I can't believe you did that, right? No, because it is a part of it. Especially in the beginning, it's going to happen. But you can't view it as a get out of jail free card either. Well, I've done pretty well. Let's get wasted for a couple of weeks. I managed to quit for 9 months. I'll get wasted for a week and then I'll quit for 9 more. People, that kind of thinking gets people killed. It really does. One of the things that we've talked about a lot, and I'm not exactly sure how to explain this from a scientific standpoint. As you know, I'm no doctor. But while you stop using, your addiction continues to grow. This has been studied. There is no one who knows anything about recovery that will argue this point with you. The doctors, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, everybody involved in this. And this is why you see so many people that they quit. They stop doing drugs, they stop doing whatever, and they take off for a certain period of time. When they come back, let's say you were doing 4 grams a day. Well, the day you come back, you're not going to do 4 grams. You're going to do 1/10 of a gram and go, phew, I just got wasted on 1/10 of a gram. Within a week, you'll be doing more than you were before you stopped. Might take 2 weeks, right? Depends on the person. But it's going to not get back to where you started, people. If you left off here, when you come back, you're going to be here. And very often, people come back and overdose and die. The number of stories of people who die on a hot shot their first time back. You know how many people die the first day they get out of prison? Seriously, it's an epidemic. While I was incarcerated, you would hear the story all the time. Guy went to a halfway house. He was there 2 or 3 weeks and decided he would go get high and killed himself. Done. And these days, I said this last night on the video. I was talking to somebody who's still in contact with a lot of people that are off abusing heroin, and they're not abusing heroin anymore. They don't even talk about heroin anymore. Now it's fentanyl. And it's not, I was kind of under the assumption, because I've been out of the game a long time, but I was kind of under the assumption that they're sneaking this stuff in under the title of something else. And granted, they're doing that, make no mistake. If they're pill pressing stuff that they can sell for more money, obviously they're sneaking that in. But the powder and the tar and the things that they're selling on the street, they're selling it as fentanyl. They're telling people that. And these people are knowingly buying this stuff. And the craziest part, people, is that I've reached a point in my life where that sounds insane. There was a time in my life where I would have been going, yeah, no, that makes sense. But it doesn't to me. With 300 people a day checking off of this planet, it makes no sense to me that everybody is out doing this. So burn that ship. For real, burn it. If I hate taking advantage of news stories. I'm never, I don't want to use someone who just passed away in a disrespectful manner, but you can't avoid mentioning when famous people check out because of drugs. It's one of those things that sort of hammers the point home. And it's one of those things that makes this more real, I guess. And I would assume that by now there's nobody on the lifeboat who's not well aware of the fact that the drummer from Foo Fighters was found dead yesterday, and the number of drugs that were in this poor guy's system was just astounding. I think I read 10 different drugs that he tested for, and the one that jumped out at me, people, I was absolutely, from a guy that basically has dedicated a large chunk of his life to sobriety and to all things, sober living kind of stuff. I expected benzodiazepines and I expected opiates, because the combo of the two is usually what takes people off the planet. They're both respiratory depressants, and mixing those two is a recipe for death, right? It's Philip Seymour, Hoffman, all of the actors who died recently had both in their system. It's just one of those things. The one that really made me sad was the amount of antidepressants that he had in his system. This was a guy that had it all, right? He was a rock star, but obviously he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy.
I think it kind of hits us too.
He was taking antidepressants, and he was taking, obviously, handfuls of everything else. He tested positive for opiates. Now, here's the thing, people. I've had a lot of people already reach out and say, hey, was it heroin? A couple of things. Number one, I read what everybody else read. I don't have any sort of inside track to any of this. But just from a pharmacology standpoint, so that this makes sense to people, depending on when you do heroin, you're not going to test for heroin. Heroin tests for what's called monoacetylmorphine, right? Or MAM. And for whatever reason, there's a number 6 in front of it, right? 6 MAM is the test that you will fail for if you're if what you have in your system is heroin. But you're only going to fail for that for 6 hours. In order for your body to process that stuff out of your body, it has to turn it into morphine, which your body that can then process. So it just, your body goes in and does some magic and removes one acetyl molecule and turns it from monoacetyl morphine to straight morphine, at which point it can get it out of your system. So they're going to tell you that he had morphine in his system, right? That's what it's going to be, is failing for an opiate that is morphine, but it could have been anything, right? Because all of them, with very few exceptions, are going to get processed into that. This is why when people start saying, well, how many people are dying from these nitazines? Well, unless they're really going in and looking for a very specific substance and trying to find out, they're not that concerned. They'll just they'll have no problem labeling it as an opiate overdose. A little bit more research could probably tell you exactly what it is, but I'm not sure that they're doing that. Let's see here.
To kind of put it in perspective, guys, on what he just said there, the tests are not looking for lack of a drug in your system. They're looking for that drug. So that kind of gets flipped around in our brain when we look at it, it says negative. We think that, yeah, it didn't detect this or didn't detect that. Well, that was never its intent. The way these tests work, guys, it's kind of backwards of what we think. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is that he's going to fail for benzodiazepines. Very often with people who do benzos, they could have 5 or 6 different benzos in their system. You know what I mean? They could be doing Klonopin, they could be doing Xanax, they could be doing Valium, they could be doing a whole host of different pills. It's one thing if they're getting this stuff from a doctor and the doctor's writing them a prescription, but if they're scoring, if they have to go out and buy this stuff, usually it's the flavor of the week, whatever these people happen to have. And benzos are a tranquilizer, and very oftentimes, as long as they're getting a tranquilizer, they may have a favorite, but usually, as I'm preaching to the choir here, but most of the time we'll take what we can get, but
it's a great point, though. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the level of drugs he had in his system, again, what jumped out at me, the thing that just made it sad, is that here's a rock star, good looking dude, really good looking dude, has had the entire world in the palm of his hands and was miserable, and
he was our age too.
Exactly. He was almost exactly my age.
Yep, 50.
See, it was just too young to check off the planet. Really, much too young. And people, it's it's impossible to look at a tragedy like that happens and think, that anything good can come from that. But this highlights for the rest of the world that we are a society that cares when someone famous overdoses. 300 a day that you've never heard of don't mean anything to anybody in this country, except for the people that knew them. That's just a number. Oh, junkies and, addicts and, losers and street people and all of the titles and names that they like to hang on people who are struggling with drugs. But you got an Academy Award winning guy. I mean, they talked about the overdose of Philip Seymour Hoffman for 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. Heath Ledger these are the people that shine a light on a problem that is affecting a lot of people who aren't rock stars and Academy Award winning actors. So if there's any bright side whatsoever to these kind of things, it's that it's making some form of awareness a little bit further out into the reaches of society. By the way, hats off to Seventh Son. If you guys don't always read the comments section, and not everybody always does, the Seventh Son has been on a letter writing campaign to make the political hacks in this country basically have to take notice of what's going on with the drug crisis in this country. And he's vicious. The number of these letters that he's sending out, and he handwrites them, people. And I'll tell you something, you want to get a response, you're going to do a lot better handwriting it for real. It doesn't look like, there was a group of people that are cranking out some form of form letter and you agreed to stick your name on the bottom of it. And to handwrite that many letters.
Oh, yeah.
Truthfully, hats off. Seventh Son, you're a beast. And you know something, people? There are so often, and not just in the realm of recovery, but in everything in life, there's just so often where people throw up their hands and go, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, that's what you do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you're going to run into people who will say, it's not going to make a difference. Well, it's making a lot more difference than the guy that just said it's not making any difference, right? It's doing the best that you can. It's trying to make something happen. It's people, if you don't think we realize when I do a show or Mark does a show where we rail against the fact that our government is allowing this stuff to come in like it's cotton candy, we're swimming upstream. We're not stupid. We realize that, and if we were a YouTube channel with 2 million subscribers, we'd be swimming upstream.
Yes.
But that's not the point. The point is you either get involved or you don't, and you do what you can do or you don't.
And now,
Seventh Son,
now's the time.
Love you, bud.
Yeah, for real, man. Now's the time to pounce too. That's what I'm trying. That's what I would say, because he mentioned it in the State of the Union address. When they're putting it on that kind of a stage, guys, and if everybody around here just stays quiet, it's never going to get any more attention than what it is right now. and we all know that it's not fixed. And just to touch on what Tommy said a minute ago about, the names of which, like, we've been out of the game for a minute, so it's kind of changed a little bit. But there's a show on YouTube, and I'm not going to mention it because it's a trigger for a lot of people. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. But the titles of the videos, if you go back 4 or 5 months, they switched from heroin addict to now they don't even say that. It's fentanyl. They say, come watch this fentanyl addict. Fentanyl. I mean, it's seriously, it really floored me for a minute. I was like, what in the world is going on? Now, and we know, I mean, we've actually talked about this on air, I think, Tommy, we know that if you feel that sort of a high, that's exactly what they're going to come back for. They want that more intense high because, guys, I know this is ridiculous to say, but heroin ain't doing it for them no more. once they feel what that other stuff is, I mean, it's one of those things, and it's ridiculous, and it goes back to exactly what he said earlier about how, the difference between the physical and the mental. That's kind of what's going on there. You can get chemical free, but if you're not ready when you come out or wherever you're at, it ain't going to matter because you've already relapsed, or you never even got clean in the first place or got into recovery. You just weren't there.
And this is one of those things that, again, when we talk about burning the ships, people, if you've been sober 6 months, you've been sober a year, and your drug of choice was Loratab, or your drug of choice was heroin, when a person now relapses, that's not what they're going to get. They're going to go to the same crowd that they used to go to, and you're going to see people that you used to hang out with putting something in a spoon or snorting something or whatever. And one of the things you got to realize is, when I say the habit continues to grow, I'm not talking about the tolerance. You understand? I'm talking about the desire. Hear this again. I'm not talking about the tolerance. I'm talking about the desire and the need, right? Because your tolerance will be at its lowest point that it has been ever. And your brain will be demanding as much as you can possibly give it. This is why so many people will die on their relapse. Exactly. They come back and that's it. They're not going to get by that. You're not going to go out and go get heroin. It's disappearing.
Yep.
And it's just, and it boils right down to simple economics. I mean, if you're going to smuggle something across the border, or you're going to smuggle something through an airport, or you're going to smuggle something, and you can smuggle something this big, that's going to make you X amount of dollars, or you can smuggle something this big, it's going to make you X amount of dollars. Trust me, you're going for the smaller, for the smaller parcel. And one of them requires a good help from Mother Nature, like fields of poppies, and the others are getting cranked out in labs. It's a frightening time right now, people.
It is.
For relapse, it is a frightening time.
It was
burn your ships.
Yes, exactly. And it's kind of like the difference between fentanyl and K-fentanyl. And most people don't even know the difference there. And that's what makes it so different. And what you just said there, as far as the small to big, that kind of applies to the individual, like, dealers, and they're trying to cut, right? They're cutting this product so they can get more out of it. And you got to know, when you're talking about such a minute amount, there is no way for them to be accurate. It's impossible. No. And that's why a lot of these people are dying. I mean, you could take a penny, because I've seen this. You guys have probably seen it too. You can take the penny and you zoom into it, and they put enough K-fentanyl on that penny that will kill you, and you almost can't see it. That's how small this stuff is, guys. I mean, it's really that potent. And I think those of us that were addicts and stuff on the opiates, we forget that we weren't putting medicine in our body. We were putting poison in our body. And if you look at it that way, I think it really does drive a point home. You have to get to that point. And if you're not there yet, do what you can to get there. But please, like Tommy just said, don't come out, and because your tolerance is at its lowest, and it won't take as much to overdose you. It's sad. It really is.
It's also a substance, and I always use for any of you who have ever had asthma, you ever seen one of those little inhalers? right? So inside that inhaler is a bunch of albuterol or whatever, specific type of medication that's in it. But you shake that thing up and you pump it, and 200 times it's going to give you a spray, and it's going to give you the same amount of drug in each spray, right? And the term that they use in pharmacology is it's in suspension. So all of the cut, right, the propellant and all of the things that make that little mist of drug come out in equal doses, right? Because it's able to sit in the suspension in such a way that each time you squeeze it, you get the same amount. Some drugs are excellent for that. The worst drug on the planet for that is fentanyl. You can't evenly distribute it. And I don't care how much effort they put it in a blender, do everything you do. I mean, no matter what, no one, with few exceptions, they're not trying to kill people, but there's just no way to make that happen. So you get a bag this big. There's going to be grams in that have 500 times more fentanyl in it. You could pick up a gram that's not going to go bang. It just doesn't sit in an even suspension throughout the entire powdered substance. It's never going to happen, people. And the same way when they press it into pills, they're sitting in a garage with a pill press, and 60 of those things might come out somewhat even, unless, of course, they're taking all of the cut and going like this and
Exactly.
Putting it on each pill. Guess what? Ain't no chance. That's not happening. They're cranking those things out as fast as they can, and it is a recipe for death. And if you don't believe me, just read the news, because there's going to be about 300 overdose deaths tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. It's a frightening time, people. And I know I sound like I'm beating a dead horse, and you know what?
Beat that horse.
I'm going to keep beating that horse.
I mean, honestly,
I'm going to keep beating that horse. I want to know. It's no different than Seventh Son writing those letters. Right? There are going to be people that don't hear us. There are going to be people that do hear us, but you know something? I'll be damned if I'm not going to try. And that's, we've got a platform. This is what we really need to be talking about. And I know I kind of went this way, but it's what I do. Right? I squirrel. But what started this entire talk this evening was talking about sober pride. People, if you're sober right now, it is so much more important to remain sober than it ever has been. And there are people listening to me right now, or they're going to be listening to me in a couple of days when they hear this thing on a replay or whatever, and they're going to go, you know what, man, I do blow. I ain't got nothing to worry about. Oh, trust me, you do. Trust me, you do. We're getting to the point now, people, where every single drug on the planet has an analog knockoff, right? They have a fake for everything.
Synthetic weed.
Yeah, as long as I've been out of the game, I did a ton of that procaine or fluorocane or whatever they want to call it, where they were buying it from China. And you know what? Other than looking at it, because it's very, very white, it doesn't have any of that yellow kind of a color to it that you usually got with blow. But other than looking at it, I mean, it tastes the same. It smells the same. It does the same thing. But people, it's coming from a country that doesn't like us much, right? And again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but if you think it's an accident that it's killing men between the ages of 18 and 45, then you're not thinking real logically, right? Our military age men in this country, the number one cause of death is drug overdose for all men and women of military age.
That's such a great point. I mean, people gotta realize that. Man.
Seventh Son says, "What's the kitty's name?"
There you go.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, I did squirrel off. I did. But,
well, but it's okay. That's the thing. This is a big subject, and to even add to that just a little bit, to tell you how hard it is to make that stuff even, to disperse it, even with our medicated assisted treatment that we're on, Suboxone. Strips, the doctor will tell you, the pharmaceutical company will tell you, do not cut these things, because you have to eat the whole strip, because that's the only way you get it consistent. It's all over the place, guys. They can't do it in a lab. What makes you think they're going to be able to do it in somebody's knockoff ghetto apartment? Ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And
that is a great illustration. I mean, with guys in white suits in hermetically sealed rooms using all of the best technology on the planet, so on a corrugated metal shed in another country, I wouldn't put a whole lot of faith in exactly how that's getting cranked out. I really wouldn't. Or a garage somewhere in Oklahoma or Kansas City or Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, people, you can go on to eBay today and buy a pill press. You know, the world that we live in right now is frightening. It really is. And sober pride, taking pride in how far you've come, requires staying there. It requires not slipping up. You know, the concept, and I beat this last night and I'm going to keep beating it. But the concept of, well, you know what, maybe just one more time, you know, maybe we'll just go and get wasted once. People, there's never been a more dangerous time on this planet to be doing drugs. It's kind of a crazy thing to think about, isn't it?
It is
Truthfully,
crazy.
You go back to the beginning of time, and you're living in the most dangerous time in the history of this planet to be using a substance to alter your brain chemistry intentionally.
Yeah.
Frightening, but it's a stone cold fact.
Sounds crazy to say it out loud.
It does.
It really does. And guys, I mean, I know you guys hear our passion in this. And I'm sorry if we're coming across a little. Actually, I'm not sorry. But listen, that's why. Because we know, we see it, we've heard it. I mean, it's such a big thing, and we really want to hammer this home. Because people are, right at this second, dying as we're talking because of this exact reason. And it's sad, you know, because a lot of the world has given up on this. All right? And yeah, it's turning around a little bit, but it's because we're not shutting up. Not just us. Other people out there like us, right? And like what Seven's doing. Those kinds of things matter. I know it doesn't seem like it does, but it does. If it only brings the point that somebody mentions it on a newscast for 2 seconds, that matters. Because at least it ain't lost in the conversation.
We got 2 great comments. Jesse Brown, I love you, brother. I really do. He said, sorry, haven't been chatting. I'm tapering myself off alcohol, to be 100% honest. Stress was overwhelming. Chi-Chi's mom is doing better today, by the way. Good. Glad to hear that. But Jesse, good for you, brother. You know what? You don't owe us any apology for not chatting, bud. You don't. None. And not accepted because it wasn't needed or deserved. So, man, just keep fighting and being you. Reach out if you need me. You know exactly how to get a hold of me, and I'm proud of you, brother. I really am. And the other one that I love, Mr. Brandon Taylor says, as someone that has dealt with anxiety and depression for almost 10 years, you guys helped me so much. And I have struggled with some other things. This boat has helped me and encouraged me to go get help. God bless you, man. That is such a cool thing to say. Wow. And you know what? Take some pride in the fact that you're doing it. I love the fact that, you know, you're crediting the people here on the boat. I really do. I love that. But stick your chest out, man. A little sober pride, because stepping up and saying, I got to fix this, that's huge. It's absolutely huge, man. For real. A little sober pride, brother. You got it coming. And welcome. I don't know that I lose track. I'm getting old. But if I've never welcomed you to the boat, Brandon, welcome. And
it'll give you
take that pride.
Yes, exactly what he's saying right there. I mean, honestly. It'll give you guys a little bit extra of a step forward if you come out like that a little bit, because people respect somebody when they're not afraid to say that they have an issue. They will respect that, guys. The pharmacists will. It's the start. The doctors will. I'm telling you, I've tried both sides, and I know Tommy has too. You tried to go in there and try to hide the fact, and then you go in there and then you just blast it out there. What gets better results? Blasting it out.
No question. No, there's no question. When you tell them you're sick and tired of this life, there's not much that people won't do. And I know most of you are here for the story, but just how you see the world start to change. When I went and picked up my prescription the last time, I don't know whether she was a pharmacist or a pharmacist assistant or what she was, but she said, you know, I could get in trouble for this, but I love handing out these prescriptions. And I thought, what a cool thing to say, you know, but that's, society really is viewing things different. Love you, Captain and crew. I'm going to sleep. Be good, guys and girls. M. Hunt, we love you too. I want to hear your voice here one of these days. Can't wait to the call-in show.
Yeah.
I honestly can't wait to he says he does a really good Nile. I want to hear him do Nile.
That's awesome. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Alrighty, people. That brings us pretty much to the top of the hour. And I'm in a new scheduling thing here. So these days, I'm actually not eating until after the show. So right around this time, you guys really keep me going. Because as I said, I didn't really sleep last night. And then I haven't eaten anything. And I'm not cranky. It says a lot about you people. Normally by this time of day with little food and no sleep, I'd be a little cranky. But yeah, I really want to thank everybody. You know what? The shows are getting better, people, and by the shows I mean all of the interaction between us and between you guys. It's becoming something that's getting better every single day. It really, truthfully is. Stacy, hold on, I got to read this. Niall has a sweet brogue. You know what? I had to read that because he does. You know what I mean? I could listen to Niall. I can listen to Niall when he doesn't agree with me. I love listening to the guy talk. It's just one of those voices that it's like butter.
Yep.
All right, people. We will be back tomorrow night, same bat time, same bat channel. Between now and then, one assignment. And it's more important than it has ever been, people. This is a dangerous time on this planet. Reach out and try to save somebody, all right? I am Captain Tommy Scoble, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And this here, people, that's a cat in a basket. Well done, squirrel. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.